So 25 years ago, next week, I was standing in Frankfurt, Germany, having just gotten off the plane and then the train into downtown Frankfurt. I was standing in the rain, wondering why the entire city of Frankfurt was deserted. The streets were empty. There were no cars. There were no people. There was nothing. I was standing there wearing jeans and a shirt, carrying a shoulder bag and a trench coat. Just the old-fashioned kind of light-colored spy trench coat, I guess. I walked the block and a half to the Hamburger Hof, the hotel where I was staying, got soaked, walked in, and the guy looked at me like a monster had just walked in the door, and he said, "You were out in the rain?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "You need to get upstairs." He says, "Give me your coat, quick." And so I took my coat off and I handed it to him, and he says, "I'm going to take this down and hose it down." He said, "You need to go upstairs, put your socks and shoes, rinse them off, put your, if they're wet, take anything you've got that's wet, wash it off, and put yourself in the shower and wash yourself thoroughly." He said, "That rain out there is radioactive." That was a week, 25 years ago, next week. Because 25 years ago today, Chernobyl melted down, and it took about 5, 6, 7 days for the cloud to hit Europe, which is where I just happened to be on that day. Cindy Folkers is with us. She is a health and radiation expert at Beyond Nuclear, beyondnuclear.org, the website. Cindy, you don't say happy Chernobyl Day, do you?
No, I call it a commemoration or a remembrance.
Okay. Well, happy remembrance, or maybe awakening remembrance is what we should say, because we need to awaken people to this.
Yeah, especially in light of what's going on and continuing to go on at Fukushima today, and the problems that we had after the Chernobyl incident, trying to suss out exactly how much radiation was expelled, who got the doses, what kinds of doses, and what kinds of health effects. I am afraid we may be repeating at Fukushima, and I hope that we can do something so that is not the case.
Yeah. I mean, Louise and I and our kids moved to Germany 3 weeks after that trip that I just described and stayed there for a year. And fortunately, we had a Geiger counter with us. We were able to actually walk through supermarkets and find the food that was radioactive and avoid it. And it was there. It was absolutely there. And there were places in the forest where you could walk along and all of a sudden hit a hot spot, and it would just go like that. I mean, this is in the Frankenwald, and in the northern German forest, or So anyway, what at Chernobyl, they shut this thing down basically by putting a concrete sarcophagus over it, a concrete shell over it, which is now starting to crack because concrete ages with time and radiation is corrosive, I guess. And they need to upgrade that. But I am hearing from experts in the press that if they tried to do the same thing at Fukushima in Daiichi, which they're actually talking about doing, that this could be the worst thing possible because they're just a couple feet above sea level there. And everything would end up in the ocean eventually. Do I have that right?
That's what the experts seem to be saying, yes. The quote-unquote containment structure at Chernobyl would not be a viable alternative for the Fukushima geology, hydrology. I know that there is an issue with the groundwater underneath Fukushima. It's actually quite a bit higher, they think, than the groundwater was at Chernobyl. And even at Chernobyl, with the groundwater level a little lower, they had to have miners go in and construct a shield below the reactor so that the core would not hit the groundwater, causing, they feared, an additional explosion.
Wow.
So that's an issue. I think there's a lot about the Fukushima accident that we still don't know. The latest update that I read was that all 3 units, again, appear to be leaking water.
Mm-hmm. Radioactive water.
It would be
contaminated.
Most likely, because that is what they have used to cool the cores in the fuel pools. And the containment on 1, 2, and 3, units 1, 2, and 3 at Fukushima seem to be leaking still, and that would be radioactive water.
Would a reasonable metaphor be that if you had some kind of magical charcoal briquettes that never went out, no matter what you did, they always stayed on fire, and you had them in a colander, a metal colander, and or in a charcoal, one of those things you just barbecue in your backyard, but it's got holes in the bottom of it, so the air can go through. And you were just continuously pouring water into it to try and cool down those charcoal briquettes, but they never went out because they're magical and they never go out. That little pieces of them would continuously be coming out with the water down through the bottom over time, and that's essentially what's happening at Fukushima.
That's my understanding. Yeah, that's my understanding. And so the question then becomes, when does this accident actually stop?
Right.
It's been halted as far as the news media is concerned, the mainstream news media. But in fact, the accident does continue to this day. And the last I heard, it could take to stop the reactors to bring them to a point where there wouldn't be a threat of continual meltdown could take months, possibly a year. And then I heard to, quote unquote, clean the site could take decades.
Wow. I spoke with Michio Kaku last Friday on our TV show, and for a half hour about this, or for some time about this, and he likened this to somebody hanging on a wall, literally by their fingernails, and their fingernails are starting to pop off one at a time, and hoping that somebody's going to show up and grab their wrists, and there may not be anybody who's going to come, or they may come too late, or they may come just in the nick of time, but that we won't know until at the very earliest the end of the year.
That's what I've heard, and that seems reasonable. It's not just him that says this. I believe there are other experts as well.
Yeah.
That seems to be their contention. Now, and as far as having a sarcophagus go over, you're right that it's not applicable there, but let's remember that the sarcophagus at Chernobyl was done so quickly that there are now concerns, and have been actually for a while, of it cracking, maybe collapsing in, releasing radiation even as it stands, but the whole thing could collapse in on itself and cause yet another release of radioactive material into the environment. And so Ukraine is really against the clock. They are, my understanding is, trying to get constructed a metal sarcophagus to go over the current sarcophagus, and they're looking to put that on within the next few years. I can't remember what it was, 2013 or 2015.
Right.
But
they're like fabricating it off-site right now.
That's my understanding.
Now, 3 Mile Island, correct me if I'm wrong on this, we're talking with Cindy Folkers with BeyondNuclear.org. My understanding of 3 Mile Island is that after this partial core meltdown, they were able, because it was contained within the containment vessel, without exposing individual workers to massive amounts of radiation, they were able to basically use robots and machines to pull that. It took 11 years. But to pull the radioactive crud out of there piece by piece, put it in caskets, and ship it off someplace. In the minute we have left, is there any possibility that that's the option for Fukushima?
Not necessarily in 11 years. I mean, you're dealing with more than one core, potentially more than one core melt. It looks like, in fact, there is more than one core, at least partial melt.
Right.
And so it would seem to me, I mean, they're obviously having trouble with radiation still, and affecting the workers that way. So if it's possible to do that at all, it would take years, and I am not sure that it is possible at this point. And you have to remember, even though the workers, they said that there were no releases and nobody died at 3 Mile Island, people did actually suffer cancers in the plume pathways after the accident.
Right, people did die as a result of 3 Mile Island.
They did. They suffered cancers as a result, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And this thing in Fukushima, or Fukushima as the American press calls it,
sure,
has not only has not stopped, but could get a hell of a lot worse as time goes on. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye on it. Cindy Folkers, you can read all about it at beyondnuclear.org.